Good evening, viewers, and welcome to Crosstalk, the program where we put the cross right in the middle of the conversation. And we thank you for joining us this evening. My name is Reverend Tom Otieno. Glad to host you again. Look, Ruto has been in the presidency for 1 year. And today we want to see where has he got it right, where did he get it wrong, where has he failed the exam, where has he passed the exam. I have a very interesting panel here with me today. We have Fred Muka, a political analyst. Karibu, Fred.
Correct. Thank you so much.
All right. And we have Reverend Moses Kimani from the Anglican Church of Kenya, Diocese of Maseno North. Karibu.
Hi, everyone. Thank you very much.
Okay, gentlemen, let's get right into it. So, how has the president done? What are the good things he has done? What are the not so good things he has done? Any of you is free to go for it.
I think I want to begin with certain hits.
Okay.
Which would be that I feel that for all the conversations going on, there's been quite some marketing of the nation, Kenya, on the international scenes. And our president has been at the forefront of it. I think the other one that catches my eye, though I know there will be some debate around it, is that he cracked the whip on the cabinet a few months ago, ensuring that those who did not keep time to a meeting that he called
were locked out.
Yes, I thought that was a huge statement.
I thought it would translate to some disciplinary action.
So unfortunately, that's what I'm saying. I think that's where the debate will be.
Yes.
But let's pick it up from there.
Yes.
To me, to be very sincere, I call a spade a spade.
Uh-huh.
I have not found anything to smile about with this government.
Okay, go ahead.
I'll be very sincere on this. Because even from the onset, he started on a wrong footing. The onset, the naming of the cabinet. If you compare this, it's easy. If we talk about Ruto, we only talk about the previous regime we've been able to witness under the new constitution. The drafters of this great constitution we celebrate today had an idea about who the cabinet minister would be. And in their thinking, I believe they wanted to professionalize the role of a cabinet minister. They wanted professionals in that position. That's why under the Uhuru regime, if you compare the political appointees he got in cabinet vis-a-vis the professionals he got in cabinet, the professionals did their job well. A case in point is Fred Matiang'i. He was a professional. He was gotten from a class. He was a lecturer, actually. That's how he came into cabinet. Vis-a-vis another cabinet minister during the Uhuru regime who was appointed, having helped, supported him during the 2013 election. Because the 2013 election, Uhuru had Uhuru, Ruto, Balala, and Ngilu. He appointed Ngilu and Balala into cabinet and other professionals. But immediately after a few months, it was said Ngilu had misappropriated some funds and she was dropped from the cabinet. Compare with the current regime, William Ruto. Basically, the entire cabinet is an appointee of either a political failure, a person who lost an election, or people who supported him during the elections. There's no any professionalism in that docket.
But of course, it can be argued that politicians are also professionals.
True, politicians are professional, but to them, politics come first than the professional aspect. Everybody is a professional, it depends. But there's an occupation and a profession. To others, a profession comes first before the occupation. To others, the occupation comes first before the profession.
Okay.
Yeah.
Point made.
Yeah. Thank you.
For
that reason,
yes.
That's what I'm saying. You cannot get a Matiang'i under the Ruto regime.
So there's no profession.
Get a simple Matiang'i, a person you can compare. You can't get a Mishuki in the Ruto government. You can't. You can't.
Okay.
He has taken buddies. All of they have history. Everybody in the cabinet, they have a history with William Ruto. Either they supported him during when it was unfashionable to support William Ruto by then. They supported him, stood by him. They were together in YK 92. They were together in Maybe they come from the same hereditary background, for lack of a better word, tribal background.
There are those who would say that that whereas on the one hand what you have said is true and you've pointed to some historical historical facts in as far as specific persons are concerned, but then they would then say that the professional work or the workers you're looking for, that's what the PS's it can be argued that that's what the PS's position is for. And yes, there's been a few of those CSs, but I think history also bears us out that in the first few years of their service, those technocrats that you have spoken about, they had a really hard time trying to pass their ideas and their vision through to government, specifically the...
You're talking about Uhuru regime technocrats.
Yes, and they had a really hard time trying to pass their policies through to the politicians in parliament. Eventually they did break through, but they needed the help of the politicians who knew how to speak politics to these other guys.
There's nothing about speaking politics and not speaking politics, my brother. The truth of the matter is that when you are appointed as a professional, you need to professionalize whatever you're doing. You cannot expect a whole minister of trade, the Honorable Moses Kuria, to stand up in a public gathering and tells people that if you feel the fuel prices are high, you can as well drill your own
oil well.
On that one, we're in agreement. On that one, we're in agreement. Yes.
There are things you can't debate about because this is a gentleman. I know Moses Kuria is learned, is well educated. However, to him, that education does not come first before the political angle.
So he's basically a politician in the CS office.
Basically, a politician in the CS office.
So in that regard, then you think Ruto has scored way below?
He has scored way below.
Does being politician compromise?
About the choice of the cabinet secretaries. Because these are this is the backbone. These are the people that are supposed to help you deliver your mandate. These are people that are supposed to guide you, advise you, because you sit together, make policies as a cabinet. But to them, including his deputy president, when they're in a cabinet meeting, they're only talking about how to handle the opposition.
Man.
When a minister wakes up, talks about how to handle the opposition.
Okay.
And a case in point is about the housing plan. Look at any minister. He has a very deliberate message about the housing plan. Look at any minister about ask about any minister about the issue about the housing plan. Everybody has his own way of understanding the housing plan. Somebody will tell you today we are creating 5,000 jobs, another 3,000, another 2,000. They're not even sure about the figures and the numbers we're talking about. But they are in concurrent on one thing. Raila should go to Bondo, period. That's what they are in concurrent with.
That is let's move on a bit. Let's move to something else. During Uhuru's regime,
yes,
he supported what you call fuel subsidies.
Correct.
So he was able to keep the fuel down.
Yes.
Ruto comes in and he says, no subsidy anymore, implementing World Bank recommendations to get Kenya out of debt. Let's talk a bit about that. Has he done well in that? We can see where the price of fuel is and the cost of living. How has he done? Reverend, what do you think?
I have mixed feelings about that.
Go ahead.
On the one hand, I am in agreement with him in principle that as a net consuming country, we should not be looking to subsidize consumption. What we should be looking to subsidize is production so that then the cost of consumption goes a little lower. With that, I'm in agreement with him. However, I think that the application of that principle is where he may have gone wrong, because there is definitely some areas that we needed to continue to subsidize. I think we should have set a certain target above which we would say once the fuel prices hit a certain point, we must step in to subsidize. That, I feel, is a mistake that they have made. But in as far as principle is concerned, I agree with him. You subsidize production, not consumption.
What's your feeling, Fred? Should he have thrown in 100% subsidy and so that we buy this fuel thing at 70 bob.
The beauty is that these gentlemen, the people in power, they have a very sweet tongue. And they might entice you to believe that whatever they are doing is actually the best, they are doing out of the best interest of the people at heart. However, the reality, when the reality hits kwa ground, the things are totally different. A case in point, it's good, yes, to subsidize production so that the production comes, it's easier to produce things and than consumption. However, there are things called fixed costs that are variant. On fixed costs, you may subsidize production, yes, to get fertilizer cheaper, to get maize cheaper. But now to process that maize, you need fuel.
Correct.
Which you can't control the pricing. You will need you will need transportation. You need labor. A person that was working at 200 shillings before, today will want 500 maybe. You see? So ultimately, the price will still skyrocket. You need a balancing act into this. You need a balancing act and a lot of wisdom. I see him praying so much. I see him in the Bible, quoting Bible verses. What I'm unable to understand is he able to preach wine and take water or vice versa? It will be prudent. You also feel the same people you govern, the people you represent, the people that have given you those jobs, the people you are telling that tutaanza na mama mboga, tutaanza na muti ya boda boda. An ideal mama mboga, an average mama mboga in any market at random, choose any market at random, Kibra, Kawangware, choose a market at random. An ideal mama mboga for him or her to pay for rent, to pay school fees, they are in chamas. Because you cannot just take money from mama mboga and be able to pay even rent. They do it through chamas, through some savings.
So they have
round
to
robin.
have this revolving fund.
This revolving fund.
Okay.
And if you follow them up, you'll get that they're able to save like 100 shillings per day. 100 or 200.
But Reverend, you look like you're itching to say something.
I was going back to something he had mentioned before. I feel that the balancing act, and I'm in agreement with him, the balancing act here is fine. We are moving to subsidize production.
Yes.
And my brother, I think you'd agree with me, production, for instance, of maize has really gone up this year.
Yes.
Question is, how do we ensure that the prices don't hit us back? And one of those things we must do is figure out, and I feel they haven't done that, how do we then get maize from Western to Northeastern?
So the distribution issues.
Those linkages, yes, those distribution issues, because, yes, I hear you, that the prices may still be affected,
Yes.
but I don't think they wouldn't skyrocket. I disagree with you on that. They would definitely somewhat go up because of the global recession that's going on right now, but I don't think our prices would be as high as if when we do not then ensure that there are linkages to ensure that production meets market, and especially for the perishable commodities. That is where I think we have a problem.
Reverend, we are not undergoing a global recession at any point. The world
You
is
disagree
not,
with the global...
The world is not on recession.
We have to take a break. I'll come back to you. Once we come back, we have to talk, because you see this global recession thing has been blamed for the rising cost of fuel.
Yes.
You have listened to the national discourse and you have heard it say the prices of fuel are high everywhere. You know, there's a... So I think Reverend will tell us a little more about that, and you will come in with your dissent.
Okay.
Viewers, we are watching Crosstalk, and we are taking a short break. And when we come back, we continue with Ruto's 1 year in presidency. Don't go away.
Tomorrow on Behind the Scenes.
I saw there's something missing in my way of believing. And the family media gave me that platform where I could continually hear the word of God.
And even at my lowest moment, there is where I got my motivation and encouragement.
When we do what God's word has told us to do, when we live the living of Christian life, We can change Kenya in the shortest time.
That's on Behind the Scenes tomorrow at 8:30 p.m. on Family TV.
Welcome back to Crosstalk, and today we are talking about Ruto's 1 year in the presidency, and we are looking at the hits and the misses. We are looking at, what is it that we think he should improve, and what is it that we think he's already doing well, and he should just keep at it. I'm here with two very interesting people. Very interesting guests, Fred Muka and Reverend Moses Kimani. When we went to the break, Fred, you are disagreeing strongly about the global recession as a contributing factor to some of the problems we have. Correct. Can you tell us a little more about that?
There's no global recession. Whatever is happening in the world at large, it's an ongoing thing. Like there's winter coming in the northern hemisphere. During winter, these people consume a lot of fuel, at least for heating purposes and stuff. There is hoarding. This is not the first time we're having winter. We've had winter before. Across the border here in Uganda, Kenyan, I don't know if you've ever stayed near the border.
Busia,
people in Busia
Namanga
get fuel in Uganda.
That's true.
People in Migori, Hispania, get fuel in Tanzania.
People in Malaba.
Yes. This fuel in Uganda passes through this country.
Then it goes and becomes cheaper.
It goes and becomes cheaper in Uganda. It doesn't require rocket science to understand this. We are better off economically than Uganda. There is no way life in Uganda can be cheaper than us. Then they'll compare with us with the countries abroad. They'll tell us in Amsterdam, in the US.
What about the Russia-Ukraine war? Is it contributing anything to fuel?
The Russia-Ukraine war has been there, and Ruto dismissed it, said it's not a contributing factor. The factors affecting the country before elections. So you can't turn the tables now. You can't change goalposts. He has to remain with that statement. Because to him, it is not a contributing factor to whatever that is affecting the country. So you can't bake your bread and eat it. He has to live by it.
Reverend, you gave us this proposal, and
the people.
yes,
sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
The people he's comparing us with. He's comparing us with the people in the US, people in the UK. That fuel there is high. The cost of living is high. That's what Moses Kuria will compare us with. They are the same people. Yes, the taxation is up in the Europe. We don't dispute that fact. However, in Europe, you'll get free primary education, free high school education, free university education, free health care, free maternal care, technically everything.
And you're paid.
Yeah. Today, the university education will be left for the selected few. People able to pay university education. Majority of us who are lucky to benefit from help will no longer benefit through help. I heard the Minister of Education even trying to explain, even the minister himself is unable to understand the new threshold about this distribution of costs in the universities. We are living in a terrible country.
Wow. Well, that's quite an indictment. Reverend, you came up with this, global recession as a theory affecting us. What is your take?
I think there are factors that affect economies across the board. Different economies would be affected differently based on the strengths of those economies and the models that those economies are working by. I think that Kenya's economic model, as much as I don't understand all the details, but generally speaking, my understanding is that the economic model we're using right now tends to be affected a lot by what happens elsewhere. I do agree with my brother here, though, that there are certain excuses that are being sold to Kenyans that shouldn't be sold. And on that we have to be in agreement.
Correct.
There was a miss. I also want to piggyback on his mention of taxes, and say I have no issue with higher taxes. I do have a problem with two things. One, vision and mobilization around the vision. What exactly is this we're looking to achieve through these high taxes? I don't think Kenyans understand where this current government is leading us. And so hence the pushback. That's first. And two, the timing of this whole taxation influx, because it's really it's an influx of taxation here. The timing of it, I think, is quite off.
Now, let's pick a specific matter. Is the price of fuel being set by the global scene?
They came up with a G to G approach, government to government approach about this entire fuel fiasco. Nobody has ever explained to us if that was the right move or a wrong move. For them to get fuel at a cheaper price, they will negotiate with the other government, like the Saudi government, for instance.
So
directly.
OPEC countries.
Yes, OPEC country directly, and they can buy fuel using Kenyan currency. How do Saudi Arabia? Why do Saudi Arabia need Kenyan shillings anyway? Because for them to get Kenyan shillings, they must also use that Kenyan shillings to buy whatever they need in the country. Until such a time, because it was an open market, anybody who was willing to buy fuel abroad and sell in the country would do so. When you open up to competition, anybody can buy and sell, technically the prices will go lower due to competition. If we had somebody else supplying electricity in the country today, trust me, Kenya Power and Lightning Company, their prices will go down.
Let's look at Ruto's scorecard on education.
Good.
Now, in education, we have seen maybe some gains, maybe some losses. Let's talk about primary education. Are we doing well there? Secondary education, this entire new education system. We now have a group that is piloting that seem to be stuck somewhere, the junior secondary. What are your thoughts about education?
For me, I think, to be honest, there are more misses and hits in that arena, specifically with regard to the primary education curriculum. That system was well meant. I think that the rollout was just totally problematic. Why it needed to be rolled in when it was, and that was actually begun by the previous regime, why that needed to happen as immediately as then, I don't see. I think there needed to be a thought-out process. Right now, part of the problem we have with junior secondary and all is an infrastructure issue. We do not have enough infrastructure to run this thing the way it ought to be run. All right. So I feel like that the intention was great. There was need to move us away from everyone running after degrees when in reality the job market is overrun with degrees. So there was all that, and the need to build 2030. The Vision 2030 really was never going to be built on the backs, on the back of degree holders. It was going to be built on the back of guys with TVET qualifications.
Skills and technical
know-how, hands-on stuff. Okay, so that I totally understand. However, there are too many loopholes in that system and that I think the current regime is trying to straighten out, and even they look stuck at this point. So there are more misses and hits, but I do want to place the original, I don't want to call it blame, but if we were to look back at how did we get here, we've got to say that the timing of it, the introduction of it, happened wrong with the previous regime.
Fred?
The entire education system, we had 844. Uhuru brought CBC. If you are keen enough, Ruto has brought something else that is not even CBC now. Because the entire initiative of CBC, I don't know, it was 3 years in pre-primary, 6, then 2, then 4. He has changed the years. There's a group that sat together and at least now repackaged the years in a new format. They totally messed up the university education by, in a way, HELB has been scrapped, in a way. They have reintroduced something that is very hard, in fact, even to qualify, to get the matter in which they're even using to rate the high needy cases vis-a-vis the, because you can't be needy in an eye of, because this entire application is through the eye of somebody. The way somebody views you. It's not an open entity for everyone. People who would study medicine, initially, they would at most need, 600,000 was enough to complete the course. But as we speak today, we are talking of something close to 2 million to study medicine. With the current regime, a parent in Shamahoho who has only a 50 by 50 piece of land. And those are the parents who bring up bright students.
That's true.
Who are able to take these courses. They find it hard to get the education that they require.
I want to move us very quickly as we finish now to health. I heard the president say a while ago that he would like to move the health function back to national government.
Blunder.
You are in devolution in the county,
Yes.
and these doctors are not being paid by the county government. So what is happening? Is this a Ruto problem, or is this what is this?
I think the president and the deputy president, historically, where they are from before they became president and deputy, if you follow their line, they never fought for anything. They never fought for devolution. They never fought for multi-party. They never fought for even in any injustice that has affected the country or in whatever way political injustice. They have never, before they became president or not,
They've not championed anything.
they have not championed anything. These are people who have been brought up protecting the status quo. The deputy president was a DO, more DOs. These are people in their youthful years, their mindset was structured to protect the status quo. Devolution talks about now giving powers to the people, giving incentives to the people so that people that are able to run their own affairs. Issue of housing, for instance, is a devolved function. Issue of fertilizer, agriculture is a devolved function. But to get the president and the deputy president talking about agriculture, initiating agriculture activities in the counties, housing activities in the county, they have now finished that. They want to go to health sector. They want health sector to be again monopolized back to the national government because of one reason. The health sector, agricultural sector are lucrative ministries. These are areas where there is a lot of financial breakthrough.
To be fair to him, is he trying to make it work? Because it seems like the counties are not paying the doctors.
It is wrong. They are paying doctors unless other counties, they are delayed funding from the counties. When there is delayed funding from the counties, where do you expect counties to get money?
What is this health thing, Reverend?
I think for me, the greatest issue with health is the push for universal health care in the way that it's being pushed right now. That as well, I must say, has not been well thought through and needs to be thought through. And then we do need to step back a little and stop this wapende wasipende approach. Okay, he means well. I think the president means well, but he also needs to stop pushing too hard this whole wapende wasipende approach. It should be, could you help Kenyans understand where you want things to go, and then help them see.
So more consultation.
More consultation. Sell the vision better. Your people are your greatest resource. If they're on your side, you'll be successful.
Correct.
That for me is the problem.
Okay, gentlemen, we have run out of time completely, and I've thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. Fred Muka, thank you very much indeed for gracing this show. Reverend Moses Kimani, thank you very much. And may God bless you both. Viewers, we've been talking about Ruto's 1 year of presidency, the hits and the misses, and our recommendations on what we think he should be doing, where he has done better, the accolades, where he has not done well. Well, we have said improve, and we know that God will guide him. Until next week, this has been Crosstalk. My name is Reverend Tom Otieno. May God bless you, and you have a great week.